Welcome to this project, the PaintPot project. And so what we're going to be doing in this one is starting off with just learning how to use the canvas. And the canvas basically allows you to sort of draw, so put your finger on it and then be able to draw, shapes or whatever you want to draw. It also lets you do animations, which we'll get into later on. It also gives you the ability to use the camera, so be able to take a picture and then be able to draw on top of that picture. So you'll actually be able to grab the camera and on your phone and be able to use that. And in addition, you'll be able to change the colors and change the thicknesses of the lines and so on. Really, this is a great template for anything that you're wanting to do sort of more on an artistic side. But it can be used in any type of app as well. And all these things are building blocks that you can use to gradually learn a little bit more about how to program using the MIT App Inventor, and then more generally, how to program itself. You're going to learn how to change properties in this one as well. And so changing properties will be things like, it's basically, changing sort of the memory cells. So we talked about sort of spreadsheet cells there where things are being held and you can access them. So we'll talk more about that. And then we'll also talk about, instead of properties that are sort of predefined by the computer, we'll also talk about creating our own variables. So those are our own memory cells that we can put values in and use those values and manipulate those values depending on the situation. So enough of me sort of talking about it. Let's get started here. So now we'll get started here and actually build the user interface at least. And so big thing that's going to be the canvas. So we just need to find the canvas here. And the canvas will allow us to sort of draw everything. All right, so just find it in here. I think it's in layout, media. Where's my canvas? Drawing and animation, sorry. There's our canvas. Okay, so drag it in. And what we want to make sure is that we get it to fill the session is out of date. Okay, I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. Okay. Anyways, let me just drag that again. So what we're going to do here is use the media, drawing and animation, canvas. Okay. And so what I want to make sure is that it fills it on the width. So I'm going to make it fill the parent. Now the parent is the screen, so obviously that's the whole thing. Okay, so it takes up the whole screen. And the height, I don't want it to fill all the way down. Whoops, maybe 300 pixels down will give us some room to put some buttons at the bottom. This is where the image will go, and sort of what we're going to be using basically as the background in our app here. All right. Now the next thing that we want to do is add a horizontal set of buttons here. Okay. And so what we're going to do is do the layout, and we're going to do a horizontal arrangement here. Okay. And what we want to do is put in 3 buttons, and this will allow us to change the color. So again, under user interface, I can go into button. So 1. And then we can drag another one in there. It's not always the easiest. Just a second. Let me just delete that one. I don't think maybe I can drag it in. There we go. It's a little bit tricky, and you got to make sure it's right in there. 3. Okay, those are our 3 buttons. And what we really want to do is just set them up so that they are for red, green, and blue. All right. And so a couple things that we'll do is I'll just click on the first one. We'll make that red. You should change the name of them. So text for button 1, we'll just call it red. Okay. The other thing that we can do is actually change the color. And where did that go? Text is red, default color. So we'll just make that red. Okay. And that's the text color. I thought there was the color inside. Oh, there we are. Background color too. I'm going to have to change that one back to black. It won't look too good. Okay, change that back to black. There we go. And then we'll do this. Oh, and the last thing is change the name of it too. We always like to rename it. Instead of button 1, I would just call that red button. And that's important so that when you're programming it, you know which button you're talking about. Button 1, 2, 3, you might remember, but red button, there's no question that that one's the red one. So I'm going to do the same process for these other two. So I'll just pause it and let you do that by yourself. All right, hopefully you've added the 3 buttons, the red, green, and blue. Make sure they're labeled nicely and that you've changed the text name as well. Now, one thing you might notice is that everything is kind of not centered. Look better if it was centered. So we'll just center everything. So simply go to the canvas, and at the moment the alignment horizontal is left, so we'll just make that centered. All right. Now we're going to basically do the same process below. We're going to add 4 buttons this time. All right, and so I'll just get you started and then you can finish it up. So again, a horizontal component, and the 4 buttons that we're going to create are take picture, which we'll use to sort of manipulate the camera app, a clear button so that we can sort of refresh things, a big and a small. Okay, so I'll let you do that. Do 4 buttons, take picture, clear, big, small. In this case, just leave it to the default coloring. Make sure you change the names and the text. All right, so I'll let you do that. So you should have your 4 buttons now across the bottom here, and they should be all lined up because the whole thing is arranged horizontally, and so you can see that in there. You can always minimize these as your app gets more complex to hide things if you need to. All right, couple other things. First of all, we're going to put in a camera app so that we can actually access the camera, okay, before we go to our programming here. And so I'm just going to simply grab the camera, and now if you throw it on, it will become a non-visible component, okay? And it just allows us to access the camera, basically, okay? The next thing that we want to do is, instead of having this blank, let's put a nice picture in, right? To get us started at least. Because what we'll want to do is just have one so that we can play with to make sure that it's actually working here. And so we'll do the same thing as before. We'll just change the background image. And so what I'm going to do is I have to upload a file here. Choose file. And what's better than a cat? So let's just see here. Okay, whoops. Uploading cat. Okay, there it is. So now our background image can be a cat. And isn't that a cute cat? It's actually my cat, but anyways, there's a cat there. So we can be able to draw a nice face on poor little Sophie. All right, so that's it for this video. We've basically got the user interface done. All right, and the next thing is we're going to start actually programming here.